Okay, I'd like to call the regular Village of Cumberland meeting of Monday, November 14th to order. Mayor Brown is ill tonight and so sends her regrets, and I'm standing in. Just want to acknowledge that we're on the unceded traditional territory of the Comox First Nation, the original keepers of this land. And first on the agenda, we have approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? And that's carried. Then we have the minutes from regular council meeting and the inaugural council meeting.
I move that we adopt the minutes of the regular and inaugural council meetings.
Thank you. Seconded. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. No delegations. We have correspondence from Cumberland Community School Society. It's a request letter of support to the community gaming grant. And I think they've put some suggestions as to the contents of the letter. And what is council's pleasure?
Yes, this looks great. I mean, the Community Schools Society is a great contributor to the village. All their activities are the school program, the food share program, etc. We definitely should be supporting this group.
Agreed.
I concur.
Yes, that's four of us.
Okay, so there is a recommendation.
I would like to move that staff draft a letter of support with the initiatives mentioned within the letter for the Cumberland Community School Society, as signed by council, I believe it is.
Great. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded. All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. We are on to reports. We have the Village of Cumberland utility rates report, and I think that it will be presented by our CIO, Michelle Mason.
Move receipt.
I think we're not doing the receipt anymore. Is that correct? We just approved the entire agenda? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so good
I'd move
evening,
for
Mayor and Council, or Chair and Council. So this report, or a version of it, comes to you every year to get direction to prepare the utility rates bylaws and the frontage tax bylaws. So I usually provide you with an analysis, which is in this report. And I mean, in recent years, it's been part of your financial planning report package instead of a standalone report. But this year, just, you know, given the new council, I decided to do a standalone report and provide you with extensive history on how we got to the point that we're at now with the rate structure. And then also because there's additional direction to be sought, and that is to either fund the solid waste for an automatic cart collection system, which is a new service level, or the current manual collection system. Okay, so, and I'll just let you know a little bit of details here. The user rates must be adopted by December 31st of this year to be effective for the first quarter of 2023. So if you give me direction at tonight's meeting, I'll prepare those, bring it back to you for first, second, and third, and then finally adoption. Also, though, the parcel taxes or the frontage taxes, they can be adopted in 2023, though, just prior to May 15th is in the important date there. So basically, you know, prior to 2011, the user rates and frontage taxes didn't fully fund the utility service, and the property taxes supplemented. And over the years up until now, council did start to increase those user rates and frontage taxes to ensure that the utility services were fully funded. And that included like frontage taxes for building asset management replacement reserves, and then also shifting user fees to fund the utility operations. So that was part of building up to now. And then on the other hand, though, the solid waste we just had a really good collector at the time. It was very inexpensive, but the solid waste actually had an annual surplus for a few years. And so at the time, we did know that significant increases were going to be coming. We had the organics that was no longer going to be a pilot program and full costing at some point. And then just knew that, the time for that collector would probably be, change eventually. So at the time, council chose not to reduce the rates, then just to spike them back up again when that happened. So we've been saving in a stabilization reserve those surpluses in order to stabilize the rates when the time came. Then we moved to consumption-based water rates in 2014, but we kept the sewer, storm, and solid waste at a flat rate structure. And the water meters, they were installed using a Towns for Tomorrow grant at the time. And they only have like a useful life of 15 years. So we also contribute $93,000 towards those, because what we know of water meters is when they start to fail, we lose revenue. They actually they show less consumption for the user than more, right? So then we would lose revenue, and there'd be deficit issues and that kind of stuff. So we want to make sure that if we're going to continue with water consumption-based rates, that we want to replace those assets. Also, we started reducing our dependency on Royston water sale revenues because based on water supply information at the time, a while ago, council asked the CVRD to explore finding other alternative water source solution for their water. And so they're still on our water system. It's possible that in 2023 that they may come off. I actually haven't gotten an update yet on what that looks like. But by 2023, we're actually, we are no longer dependent on that revenue. And then we've also been increasing water and sewer rates in order to stabilize rates, rate increases required for those significant increased operating costs for the water treatment capital upgrades that were completed in 2020 and the wastewater treatment capital upgrades that are currently in process. And then something to note, though, at this stage is that the scope of the wastewater treatment upgrades has changed significantly. So that budget so far has gone from $9.7 million to $12.4 million. And so these rates that I'm presenting to you tonight actually are building up towards operating costs that were given to us in 2018. We don't have an updated amount for that yet. And that's, with this change in scope. So we'll need that. And then, So then between 2016 and 2022, the user rates increased from just under $600 for the average residential customer to just over $900 per year. And then in the same time frame, the frontage taxes increased from $121. They hadn't been increased since 1996 at that point. They increased from $121 to just under $330 per year. And so these increases are outlined on page 13 of your agenda. I gave you like a per year increase. So now we're at the current kind of rate structure. Now I've given you a little bit of history. So the proposed rate increases for 2023 to 2027 achieve a variety of objectives, and those are outlined on page 14 of the agenda. But basically, they are for current service level operating costs, and that of course includes the estimated wastewater treatment the costs, and That wastewater treatment costs, it's important to note that it includes a new wastewater operator 3 position that we would present to you with the budget in January for 2023, because then we can have that operator in place for commissioning and have them all ready to operate. And then it also includes like some asset replacement. So we're trying to build the rate replacements of the new, build into the rate replacement of the new treatment capital assets in the utility service. So, they're between 50 and 80 years for replacement, but you're better off starting and putting that money away, because we haven't had that wonderful opportunity up until now. So it's really a good idea. And then finally, we want to smooth the rates increases required over the 5 years, so you're not having spikes happening. And then finally, you also have the opportunity to make a decision on your solid waste collection. So you could increase the service level for an automatic cart collection system, or continue with your current service level manual collection service system. And so even if you want the automated cart collection system, at this point, you're just understanding that you're building your rates so that you can get ready for it. We actually need to do some further investigating on the logistics of the whole system, how it works. We only really have the costs at this point. And so what we need to do is, if you were to give that direction, we would go in and investigate further in 2023. And so to find out how it rolls out, everything about that. And so we would bring a report back to council with further details on that. But one thing to understand as well, with that system, or even without, there will be some service level decisions for your what we call ICI customers. That's basically your commercial customers. So the other local governments in the region, they don't have a service, curbside service for their ICI customers. They allow them to be private. So that's a thought. So on page 15 of the agenda, staff's included estimates on what the rate increases would be for a typical residential customer for different scenarios, for either staying with the current service level or moving towards an automatic cart system. And the two options for the automatic cart is if you wanted to bring it in right away in 2024, or the other option is if you want to wait until 2025 and bring it in then. And so with all three scenarios, the stabilization reserve's been used right up until 2027 that year. So then you can see in 2027 with the automatic card options, it levels off, because that's when it goes back. You've paid for those, you've brought the rates in, and now it levels off. Then you have your frontage taxes for the 2023 year, and that is going to fund your linear infrastructure, water, sewer, and storm asset replacement. So we contribute every year to that reserve, and the funding source for that is your frontage taxes. And so on page 16, you'll see those reserve contributions outlined for you over the years of 2023 to 2027. And then starting on page 16 of the agenda as well, the average residential customer with this current rate structure, not at the current service level, not the automatic carts, would pay a total of $1,316, and that would be compared to $1,235 that they paid in 2022. And then, of course, it's always really important to note that property taxes, as well as your new water parcel charge and your expected wastewater treatment parcel charge, are over and above these utility rates and frontage tax charges. And then page 17 of the agenda, I've also outlined for you what a typical ICI customer would pay, type of property with the retail on the bottom and a residential on top. That's kind of similar to some of the buildings on your Dunsmuir Street. And then I've also outlined what the highest water user, the regional hospital laundry, would pay as well. And so everybody else is somewhere in between, and there's a huge range of how they use their services. So, so basically, then what I'm asking is for a council direction. You can either continue with your 2023 in 2023 with the rates for your manual solid waste collection system, or choose 2024, 2025 to bring in automatic carts. And then also on top of that, if you could give me direction to come back with your user rates and frontage tax rate bylaws. Even without that decision, I still need that direction. So I can answer any questions, and the manager of operations is here too, if needed.
Great. Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks.
Yeah, Councillor Burkey?
Thank you very much for that report. I think one of the, obviously this is to set the rates, and you haven't gone into an in-depth analysis of automatic cart. It's a little hard to see what the uplift in service level is without knowing a little bit more about that. I think that's a big question. Funding something, we're not really sure how that looks, or whether it's even appropriate for Cumberland. Do you have any examples of other communities who've gone this route and what they've seen at the moment, or is that'd be something for a different report?
Yeah, I get that I'm kind of putting the cart before the horse. But yeah,
I didn't want to say
I just didn't want you to lose the opportunity of stabilizing your rates. But really, yeah, there isn't enough information for you to even understand what kind of service level you would be getting. I don't know of any other municipalities that have used the automatic cart. Do you have any experience or feedback?
Well, the regional district of Nanaimo has gone that route. A lot of municipalities in the province have gone that route, and it's really, there's a number of reasons. I guess first and foremost, it supports, it streamlines the operation, supports kind of work safe requirements for cart sizes and weights and stuff, and it's a challenge right now, I think, with repetitive skeletal type injuries within that industry. And it also supports the solid waste management plan that's submitted by the province. So trying to meet targets for solid waste separation, with organics and recycling. It's trying to support those initiatives as well. The cart system's proven to force people to participate in the program, right? So to utilize, the carts for recycling and the yard waste, get your compost separated from the garbage waste stream. And then, it also cleans up, it eliminates a lot of mess within your community, so you don't get birds and other animals picking away garbage. It's an aesthetic, from an aesthetic perspective, it's a bit cleaner looking as well. My understanding is the city of Courtenay and the town of Comox will be moving to a cart system, but not for another year. So.
Just on that topic, who pays for the carts?
Sorry, you'll have to come up and answer through the mic. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt. Yeah, just because.
So, it can either work where the municipality pays for the carts and administers the carts, which for the village of Cumberland that'd be a real challenge, right? Because anytime somebody moves or you get new customers, you have to collect all that data, you have to track carts, you have to replace them. Or you can have the service provider also provide carts. And I don't have all the details for the city of Courtenay and the town of Comox on what route they've gone. Still working on getting some of those final details. But
So I guess the more important question is, do these rates reflect the cost of the carts as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The scenario 2 and 3 rates that
Yeah.
include the cost. Yeah.
What those exact costs, yeah.
Yeah. I
Still yet to
mean,
be determined in a future report and further analysis, but.
Yeah, through the chair, I actually used the costs that they gave me, but I actually didn't get the full proposal given, just the costs that they've been given. And I also used the smaller carts cost instead of the big one, because I kind of thought like that could be a choice, an uplift for someone instead of everybody paying for that uplift. But that's what I included.
Okay. Yeah, the city of Powell River has the cart system, so that may be somewhere we can look for some data on how it's working for them.
Good.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I think definitely for Cumberland's cartography here, or topography, it's very tricky, especially with the weather. If we're getting snow all winter, those automatic carts are going to be pretty tricky. So I definitely would like to maybe see Courtney and Comox kind of give us an example once they start rolling that out. But I really like stabilization reserves. I know that in the past we've been served really well by them. And I know that our operating costs and the operator and stuff, that's all been coming on for the wastewater plant. So yeah, supportive of the stabilization reserves for sure.
It does seem like a fairly sophisticated system for our little village. And it is mechanization that does take away jobs. And I guess that's sort of a good thing in what we've seen in the past is the companies that we have hired haven't been able to find the staff or having staffing problems. So I guess in one way that's good, but in the other way, a loss of jobs, local jobs is not great. But as Councillor Sullivan said about having the option is good. So having those stabilization rates so that we could make that decision in the future is probably a good idea. But maybe we could put it off to the 2025 so we can see how our partners, Courtney and Comox, do with it first and make the move once it's more of a known as opposed to unknown.
And through the chair, the one thing that we have to also, like what the manager for operations will have to look into is really about our narrow streets and everything, is how that will work and everything.
Yeah.
Like there's so many unknowns, or even like I don't even know. Maybe we could do it in 2026. I'm not 100% sure because we were really supposed to be part of the RFP and that was delayed as well. So.
Okay. So what's your pleasure?
Well, I'll move that council direct staff to amend the solid waste user rates to fund the operating costs over the years 2023, 2027, effective for the 2023 year, with council's choice of the following service level manual collection system. Oh, oops.
You can.
Can I keep going? Is that the wrong part?
So.
No, I'll move.
Sorry, Councillor Sullivan. So you would say if you want the manual collection system, that would be the $57 increase for 2023. Okay. And if you want to be ready for the automated in 2025, that would be the third scenario. You could say automatic carts collection system for 2025. And you still wouldn't be approving the automatic cart you're just approving the funding to be ready for it. So it's up to you.
Okay. Is that written in the recommendation? I don't see that.
No,
No.
sorry, I couldn't give you that much.
Right. So I'll move to direct staff to amend the water and sanitary sewer user rates bylaw to fund sewer stormwater operating and facility capital replacement costs over the year 2023, 2027, effective for the 2023 year at $57. Is that what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
that's good.
And that council.
Yeah.
Is that the same thing?
Nope.
Nope, that's still the wrong one.
This one is the frontage tax, the next one.
Okay, yeah, sorry. The council directs staff to amend the water and sewer and stormwater frontage tax bylaws to fund water, sewer, and stormwater linear asset or capital replacement costs over the year 2023, 2027, effective for the 2023 year.
Okay, and just circling back to the first motion on the automatic cart. You're just doing the straight manual collection without increasing rates for the eventual automatic cart system. That was the motion that I heard. Do you want to
No,
amend
that's
it?
not what I'm going for. Sorry, I'm confused with this motions.
I might be able to help.
There's several different motions here, isn't there?
Yes.
There's one motion for the cart system, and then there's further motions to talk about the water and sewer, and then another further one to talk about the frontage taxes,
That's
right?
correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe we can just have a seconder for the sanitary sewer user rates and for the frontage tax.
I'll second the motion for
Okay.
the frontage tax and sanitary sewer rates.
Okay. All in favor?
Okay.
And that's carried, and we'll circle back to the cart.
And I can explain a little bit.
Okay.
So if you make a motion to stay with the manual collection system, the increase in 2023 would be $57 for all the services. If you make a motion to move to fund and stabilize rates towards an automatic cart collection system for 2024, starting in 2024, your 2023 rates increase would be $80.60 estimated. And if you make a motion to stabilize your rates and fund the automatic cart collection system starting in 2025, your 2023 increase would be $78.20. So you could say manual, or you could say automatic cart starting in 2024 or automatic cart starting in 2025, and those would be your increases.
I have a question
ahead.
there. So, in the event that we plan to go with automatic carts in 2025, but then don't, could these reserves be used to stabilize increases in the future instead?
Absolutely.
So we could
Yes.
revert back. We plan for it, but then if it doesn't happen,
That's right.
it's not just an increase that we take from the taxpayers. They
That's right.
maybe get some relief from their garbage collection in the future.
Yeah. And just to further that, because that's a really good point. So if you were to try to stabilize and then you get your report on the automatic carts collection, you find out other communities it's not working out, you decide not to go with it, but you've stabilized rates. Without any cart collection, you have a $20 per year or $20 per year solid waste increase. So those stabilization funds, I would then reanalyze it next year over 5 years, and you would see probably back down like maybe 15 or so. Like you wouldn't have as big of an increase if you chose not to. It would help for further years.
That sounds like a good option to me.
You even mentioned 2026 maybe, so roll the dice one more year and go for $72 or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
As Councillor Brecky was stating, yeah, I mean, if there's no errors in saving and then figuring out if we don't need it, then yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd be interested in a 2026 rate.
Yeah, I wouldn't have
Lower
that
it down,
for
but-
you, but if you did want to make that the motion, I could stabilize it and bring back rates for you. That would start then. I just wouldn't be able to promise you that we have that option. I'm not 100% sure. But, you know, we could always it would be a little bit more of an increase next year if if it didn't work.
You're comfortable with 2025's rate as well?
Yep.
Yeah, I think
That seems to be the one that sort of splits the middle. Yeah.
Okay. So that's the motion.
Someone else want to
Do
say?
you need somebody to formally make that motion?
Okay.
No, but I did, so.
I'd like to make the motion for staff to explore the increasing the utility rates to look for 2023 to 2027 to add a automatic cart system in, or potentially add an automatic cart system in 2025.
Second.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? It's unanimous. Is that,
Clarification that was, sorry. That's to direct staff to do so rather than explore. Is that necessary for you, Michelle?
Yeah,
Okay,
direct,
to direct staff,
the
right.
bylaw. Yeah.
okay,
Thank you.
great, thank you. Moving on,
Thank you.
we have the 2022 general local election results. And that's going to be presented by Rachel, our corporate officer.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Kettler. This report is just for information for council. It's required that the chief election officer report to you on the 2022 general election. The report sets out the results and the ballots cast compared to the two previous general elections. I should have given you a little bit more information on the ballot accounts for the election. So the voting books show that 1,420 folks came out and registered to vote and received a ballot, and that concurred with the tally on the voting machine. There were 6 spoiled ballots, and there were actually 10 of our mail ballots that were issued that were not used, and those were considered spoiled ballots as well in the count, in the ballot tally counts. So there were no ballots unaccounted for, and if you add up the 1,420 that voted plus the 16 and our number of unused ballots, that added up to the number of ballots that were actually used for the election. So, as I said, all the ballots were accounted for. So I can summarize a few changes that we had at this election. We changed the second advance voting day to the Wednesday before the general voting day, which is 4 days, and I think that brought a lot more people out. I think we had 500. What was it? I don't know if I have that exact number in here. Oh, 341. Yeah. So that was successful for sure to have that many people out. The numbers were down a little bit for the Saturday, which was a bit of a disappointment for us. We were hoping to have a few more people, and we did have extra staff there to receive more voters, but it didn't work out for us on that Saturday. I think it was a beautiful day, so perhaps that played a part. And we also had mail ballot voting, which replaced the special voting opportunity that we actually had at the lodge. We used to actually take the ballot box up there for a few hours for a day, and we ended up having the same number. We worked quite closely with the staff at the lodge and brought the mail ballot packages to them. The staff had to go through with the residents that did indicate they wanted to vote and help them complete their ballots. It actually worked out better because with the COVID procedures up at the lodge, we probably wouldn't have been able to get a special voting place up there anyway. So it worked out better that the staff inside was able to do that. So
that's good.
yeah. So we had a total of 35 mail ballots returned to us. And we had a little, we focused on accessibility on the voting place this time. We had a machine that would help people with visual impairment or dexterity issues, not being able to mark a ballot. And we had a couple people use that machine, which was great. And I just wanted to say that the procedures that we use for elections are set out in Council's election procedures bylaw. So this isn't the place for it now, but I just wanted to make sure that Council was aware that it's Council that sets those procedures. Say like the advanced voting days, having mail ballot voting. Another one that Council determines is the voters list we use. We don't use a voters list, we use voting day registration. So that affects some people might think that affects their ability to campaign. So all those decisions do sit with Council. So this election was run under the current election procedures, but there is opportunity for Council to change that as time goes on. Thank you.
Great.
Had a question. Was I misinformed, or did we have a, a special voting machine for visually impaired? If so, did we rent that, or did we purchase it? Okay.
We did rent it. It was a bit of a, that was the auto, we call it, it's called the auto mark machine. It has a screen, and it actually marked the ballot for the voters, and then, so we always have a paper ballot. It would produce the ballot, and then it was scanned by the optical reader. So we did have a few people use it. It was a bit fussy and fidgety. I think it's fairly old technology, but it was used, and I think it was worth the effort to bring it out. And it was extra cost as well to bring that out.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Big thanks to Rachel and all the other election officers. Yeah. All right. So there's just a recommendation to
I'll move
receive
the
the
council
results.
receive the 2022 general local election results report for info.
Okay.
I'll
Seconder?
second.
Great. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And we don't have any bylaws or new business. And notice, motions, and announcements. We have Committee of the Whole on November 18th at 1 p.m. And we have the Accessibility and Inclusion Committee on November 21st at 3. And that takes us to question period. Please send questions by email to info@cumberland.ca using the subject line question period. And please limit to questions only. Comments will not be read. So nobody in the gallery today.
Bake muffins next time or something.
Turn my mic off.
They're just rolling in, Rachel. You're just trying to catch up on all the
Bit of a
questions.
backlog.
Yes, there's so many. Yeah, there are no questions coming in tonight.
Okay.
And just as a question for myself, how long do you usually allow for the public to mail in questions?
Usually about 10 or 15 seconds because there is a bit of delay. Yeah. We can wait longer if council wishes.
And
But I can see how many.
staff receives them
Yeah.
all week leading up to the meeting, right? Once the agenda goes out.
We do have questions in advance occasionally, but we prefer if people do ask questions after that particular report is on the agenda because their questions may be answered during, because council members often have the same questions
Right.
as the public do. So usually, often during discussion and debate, those questions are actually answered.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you. So we have adjournment.
I'd like to move that we adjourn.
Second?
Sure, I'll second that.
All in favor?